Haha, although Sea Heart sect is far away in limitless ocean, but the power is not weak, and there are many people who have heard of it, and there is no such a red-haired old man in Sea Heart sect. It must be Brother Kui alone. The cultivator in front of the people of Sea Heart sect explained lightly and calmly. Hearing his compliments, the red-haired old man looked a little embarrassed, but did not relax his vigilance, and said, "Who are you?" "My last name is Jie." The man showed an inscrutable smile. "Surname Jie? What business do you have with me?" The red-haired old man frowned. The martial artist, surnamed Jie, frowned and looked a little surprised. After thinking about it, he asked tentatively, "Brother Kui came from afar. How many days has it been since coming here?" "It's only 3 days, but what does this have to do with you?" The red-haired old man was confused by what the other party said. The other party didn't say anything, and didn't tell the identity. It's really suspicious, and they asked these questions. The problem made him impatient. So that's the case. Presumably Brother Kui hasn't carefully investigated the situation near Heavenly Fate City? The martial artist, surnamed Ji, seemed to understand something, and smiled slightly. The red-haired old man snorted coldly. "So what? If you have something to say, just say it, don't make a roundabout." The martial artist, surnamed Ji, laughed. "Don't blame Brother Kui. If that's the case, then it's not difficult to explain why your disciples go to Dragon Cave Mountain to pull the tiger's beard." Pulling tiger beard? The old red-haired man narrowed his eyes. "On that hilltop? Are they so worthy?" The martial artist, surnamed Jie, said lightly. "If this Jie tells Brother Kui, the owner of the hill has a good relationship with Elder Qiantong, and there are even rumors that he has some relationship with the city master Fei Jito. And there is a martial artist of Void Return stage died in his hands. Will Brother Kui still think of him like this?" "What?" The red-haired old man changed color suddenly. His face was uncertain and he shouted, "Is this statement true? Jie has no need to lie to you. Even so, so what? To kill my elite disciple, he needs to pay for it." The red-haired old man shouted sternly. Although the information from the martial artist Jie made him a little afraid, today's matter is very important and cannot be ignored. He didn't want to give up on revenge. If he did not get revenge, he couldn't even go back to Sea Heart sect. Haha. Xie wanted to hear this from Brother Kui's mouth. Then the martial artist surnamed Jie laughed loudly, his eyes flashed sharply, and whispered, "Do not worry Brother Kui, the Void Return stage master who died in the hands of the Master of the Hill, is an elder of my Jie family. My Jie family and that kid don't share the same place under the heavens." "Oh." The red-haired old man looked a little surprised, and immediately seemed to think of something. He looked up and down at the cultivator who was blocking them, and hesitated. "There is a deacon named Jie Hu in the Shadow Moon Palace, and Your Excellency, Jie Hu is my cousin." The cultivator, surnamed Jie, smiled slightly. Hearing this, the red-haired old man looked overjoyed and didn't dare to be rude anymore. He clasped his fists politely and said, "It turns out that it is Brother Jie. Kui is negligent. It's okay." The martial artist Jie waved his hand indifferently, and said affectionately, "Don't blame anyone who doesn't know. Brother Kui brought his disciples to stand nearby to monitor the movement of the Emperor's garden. If you don't mind, you might as well come to the Jie family. How about staying for a while? Although my Jie family is not a big family, I have a good room and a few rooms can still be vacated. It's very good. I don't know if it's disturbing your family." The red-haired old man smiled. He is anxious since he couldn't find a good place to stay. He didn't have someone to invite him. Hearing what this person said just now, it seems that their relationship with the master of that hill is still very grieving, and he feels a little bitter about the same enemy, and agrees without thinking about it. The so-called enemy's enemy is a friend, although the red-haired old man also knows that the other party seems to have the idea of borrowing his power, but he don't care. Let's talk first. Sea Heart sect people can come to Jie's family to settle down, but let the holding place be prepared first. Let's have a good chat while walking. I have always been yearning to go to the limitless ocean, but always have no chance to go. Cultivator surnamed Jie invited. Please? the red-haired old man said politely, and now the two of them rushed to Xia's main altar with a dozen disciples of Heart sect. The cultivator, surnamed Xia, was very talkative. He chatted with the red-haired old man along the way to talk about some strange things. He even appropriately expressed his longing for the limitless ocean, and immediately made the red-haired old man feel at home. After chatting for a while, the red-haired old man started to inquire about Xianxia. After learning that his backing was actually Qiantong, his face changed slightly. If so, the difficulty of revenge is not small. Moreover, the Xia family is also considered to be in the sphere of influence of the Shadow Moon Hall, so blatantly hostile to that Longshui mountain. Shouldn't there be any problem? As if he knew what his concerns were in his heart, the martial artist surnamed Xia immediately told him that Shadow Moon Palace would not interfere with the grievances between the Xia family and Dragon Cave Mountain. This news made the red-haired old man overjoyed and felt that the decision to go to the Xia family was more and more right. As long as the Shadow Moon Hall does not interfere with the Xia family strength combined with their own strength, is it not simple matter to destroy a small hill? Thinking of this, the red-haired old man looked grim and seemed to have seen the scene where Xianxia was broken into pieces. In a relatively large attic in Dragon Cave Mountain, Xianxia greeted Wei Gucheng and others in, and the guest of honor was seated. Wu Yi personally brought up a few plates of spiritual fruit, and ordered people to serve fragrant tea before she retreated. Brother Yang, please let Wei and Xuaner to pay respect to you. To Xianxia's surprise, Wei Gucheng suddenly stood up again, and the two of them saluted themselves sincerely. Brother Wei, what is this? Xianxia was shocked, and quickly got up to support the two of them. Wei Gucheng grinned. Wei has lived for these years and has never admired anyone. Even Ku Chengfeng and Feng Tianzhang are not worthy of letting Wei bow their heads. Brother Yang, you are the first and only one. After thinking for a while, Xianxia understood why he was so solemn, and waved his hand. Brother Wei is serious. The last time Elder Qian was able to get out of trouble, it has little to do with me. You must also listen to Elder Qian's specific process. Yes, I just walked a circle with Fei City Master into the Imperial Garden. If Fei City Master hadn't touched the restriction, I'm afraid I would also be trapped in it. But I know that if it's not for you, Brother Yang, Kai He and Du Sisi will undoubtedly die. If the two of them fall in the Emperor Garden, the two family will definitely resent my Shadow Moon Hall, so in any case, I and Xuaner will both thank you. Xianxia didn't argue with him when he said that. If he keeps saying against it, it will become more and more hypocritical. On the contrary, Dai Yuan listened to him and looked at Xianxia in surprise. It seemed that she didn't expect him to had actually entered the Emperor's Garden. I hate the fact that both Xuaner and I were consolidating our own cultivation realm at the time. No news from the outside world was known. If we hadn't heard people talk about it accidentally after leaving the place, I'm afraid I would still be kept in the dark. A trace of sadness flashed across Wei Gucheng's face. Although he is not a disciple of Qiantong, but he has always followed him alongside the palace master. After so many years, Qiantong treated him as his own, and Qiantong was in trouble, but he didn't make any effort to help and blamed himself every time he thought of it. The predecessors of the Shadow Moon Hall are also thinking for the sake of both of you. You two have just broken through the void return stage. It is just when you need to consolidate your cultivation. How can he tell you this and disturb your mood? Don't talk about this, Brother Wei. You are here today, but what's the matter? Xianxia saw his gloomy look, and quickly changed the subject. It doesn't matter much, just to send an invitation. Wei Gucheng chuckled and gestured to Dong Xuaner. The latter understood, and found a golden invitation from the space ring, and handed it to Xianxia. Whose invitation card? Could it be that Brother Wei and girl Xuaner are going to get married? Xianxia smiled and asked deeply. Dong Xuaner immediately made a big blush, twitched, and ran to Dai Yuan, a little embarrassed to see everyone. Wei Gucheng smiled. That's not it, but there is always a chance. When the day comes, I will never forget to send an invitation to Brother Yang. But this invitation is not something ordinary people can get. Xianxia raised his brows and looked down, stunned. Treasure Assembly Pavilion. Yes, it is the Treasure Assembly Pavilion. Wei Guchang returned to his seat, took a sip of the fragrant tea, and said slowly, "The invitation letter for the Treasure Assembly Pavilion auction. Is Brother Yang interested in participating?" Xianxia did not immediately answer. Speaking of which, he had participated in an auction in Treasure Assembly Pavilion last time, and the gains were not small. He was also interested in this kind of thing, but it was not necessary. Moreover, this situation was disturbing right now. Suddenly, Treasure Assembly Pavilion was about to hold an auction, but he don't know why. Still in Heavenly Fate City? Xianxia was even more surprised. Based on his understanding of Treasure Assembly Pavilion, this force is considered to be the largest business alliance on the Shadowed Star. They mainly do business there in St. Crystals. The auction will be held every few years for more than 10 years, but the place of each time is not fixed, and it is held in turns in the cities where the major forces belong. Now it's only a few years since the last auction, and it's going to be held in Heavenly Fate City again. This obviously breaks the previous practice, because it is strictly calculated that the next turn of Heavenly Fate City should be 100 years later. Naturally, it is going to be in Heavenly Fate City. Now all the forces are gathered here, and the Emperor Garden is born again. Even if Treasure Assembly Pavilion does not set up the auction in Heavenly Fate City, I am afraid no one will agree. Wei Guchang chuckled. Listening to his explanation, Xianxia understands that there are so many cultivators gathered in Heavenly Fate City, and they have all kinds of major forces. Taking advantage of the opportunity to hold an auction can be regarded as the best time and place. Moreover, although Emperor Garden was born, although he could not enter for the time being, no one could tell when it would open. Many cultivators were already planning ahead to find ways to enhance their own strength. Just wait for the opening of Emperor Garden to rush in and get a piece of the meat. Under this circumstances, once the auction is held, there will definitely be a flood of guests. After all, the last time the Treasure Assembly Pavilion was taking advantage of the opening of Flowing Flame Sandfield, the auction held was a huge success, and this time the Treasure Assembly Pavilion was obviously trying to get huge profit again. To be continued.